sound you just heard is the sound of Morris dances, an English folk dance. But what do these Morris dancers from Cotswolds doing in a farm in West London? And why on earth there is a working farm inside the city? So many questions. Okay, just listen to the rest of this fascinating episode for more details. Hello. Welcome back to The Delicious Legacy with me, Thomas Dinas. And on today's episode, we're going to explore the traditional English custom of wassailing. What is it, wassail? Well, sit back on a comfy armchair near a fire. It's still cold outside after all, it's winter, with a glass of hot spiced cider, and listen to my little story about a sort of pagan event I went to a couple of weeks ago in a farm in Ealing in West London. And yeah, cheers, I have a hot cider here too. To your health.
Next level, Morris. Thank you for watching. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
But firstly, let me tell you where we are. We are in the London borough of Ealing, West London, and Horsenden Farm and Hill is a local nature reserve and working farm in Ealing. It's near Perivale, and it's essentially looked after and managed by a bunch of volunteers from Ealing Rangers and Friends of Horsenden Hill. And as a working farm, it has orchards, so there are apple trees, people have their own allotments, there are geese, as you can hear. And every year they have pigs, so they rear their own pigs. And people can order their own meat. It's a lovely place, it's really beautiful, and it's such a little heaven in the city. Although Ealing is a green borough, it's a really nice place to be. Once you go out of Perivale station and you walk for about 10 minutes, there is a narrow road above the river or the canal, and it's like a little bridge. And then once you pass this little bridge, which looks old and cute and villagey, it doesn't feel like you're in London. And once you pass the bridge, on your right hand side you have the gates and you can enter this farm. It's about 90 hectares and it comprises of meadows, wetland and woodland habitat. And it's a beautiful place to be, basically. There is also a bakery, there's a pizza oven, there's a brewery. So yeah, it's a really nice place overall. And farming in Horsenden goes back to at least Tudor times. So there is a long tradition in the area. There's local honey, there's fresh fruits and veg. Generally, it's a little oasis in the heart of Ealing. But what these Morris dancers from Cotswolds doing here? And what is wassail? This is a very interesting tradition, a very old and special custom and a ceremony that takes place in England, mainly in South England and Southwest England's apple orchards. So the wassail is a way to celebrate the end of Christmas and to bless the trees so that it will bear plenty of fruit for the cider. So this happens usually, it's celebrated in different parts of England in different times, but the wassail is associated with the Epiphany, so it's usually celebrated on the 5th of January, the eve of the Epiphany, or according to others, it goes to the 17th of January, which is the traditional 12th night before the introduction of the Gregorian calendar. So yeah, we decided to do it on the 21st of January, which was a Saturday, so everybody could go to the orchard and the farm and celebrate the wassail with hot cider and with songs and dancing and so on. And so what happens is that people wet the trees with cider and play music and bang on drums and pans to frighten away the evil spirits and the devils. The purpose of the wassailing ceremony is to awake the cider apple trees from their winter sleep and to scare away the evil spirits, so you can ensure to have a harvest of fruit in autumn. This is definitely a weird and wonderful sight to behold. It feels a little random as a tradition to witness it in London on your Saturday brunch visiting the farm. There are people walking around with bells strapped on their thighs. Someone made a full papier-mâché head of a deer and they're wearing it, but they're not able to see, of course, where they're going, so someone else is leading them around. The whole atmosphere is filled with cacophony of noises and chatter, and people eagerly anticipating the beginning of the wassail. Basically, there is a wassail king and queen, which they lead the song and the processional tune along the orchard. They hang toast on the tree as a gift to the tree spirits. But where does the word wassail from? What's the meaning behind it? The word wassail originates from the Anglo-Saxon phrase meaning to your health. And it seems that wassailing predates the Battle of Hastings and predates the Norman conquest. It seems to have its origins in ancient Rome, perhaps when people would make sacrifices to the Roman goddess Pomona, goddess of fruitful abundance. In English folklore, the apple tree man is the name given to the spirit of the oldest apple tree in the orchard, and in whom the fertility of the orchard is thought to reside. Tales of the apple tree man were collected by the folklorist Ruth Tongue in the cider-producing county of Somerset. In one story, a man offers his last mug of malt cider to the trees in his orchards on Christmas Eve. He is rewarded by the apple tree man, who reveals to him the location of buried gold, more than enough to pay his rent. These folk tales from Somerset, reflecting the custom wassailing and the fact that for the people, the spirit of the oldest apple tree in an orchard needs to be celebrated, and offerings need to be given to the apple tree in the orchard in general.
Capfuls, 3 bushel bagfuls, and little heaps under the stairs.
And so, on a glorious sunny winter day on 21st of January, I arrive on Horsenden farm, intrigued by what I am about to witness next. It's a crisp, bright afternoon, just about lunchtime. People had already gathered and chatted, and they were all dressed with some very interesting attire, all mysterious and pagan, they've seemed to me. Some of them resembled the Holy Man, the winter incarnation of the Green Man, that kind of a thing, with leaves and branches adorning their head and upper body, and capes, belts around their thighs for making noise when walking. And of course, with all this interesting stuff, hot cider was included, and people had gathered around a table waiting for the procession to start, helping themselves with a hot spiced beverage, very welcome on a cold winter day, but also very delicious. I too helped myself to 1 or 3 cups perhaps, while waiting for the ceremony to start. The whole vibe was very folk, very old spirit of the forest type of thing. Really ancient England stuff. I could feel it in my bones. I wondered if it was the effect of the hot cider that amplified the surreal scenes, or indeed I stepped into the past. An overall feeling of revelry and party was hanging in the air, people with instruments practicing the tunes, and of course plenty to drink and keep us warm on this winter day. Now the traditional drink, obviously this hot cider, it has another name like lamb's wool, which seems strange, but apparently it's either called so because of the light color and the frothy appearance of the drink on the surface, as traditionally you'll have hot apples put into your hot cider and they will explode and little pieces will be floating on the top of your drink. Or there's another theory that Richard Cook in 1835 believes it stems from being served at La Mas Ubal, that is the day of the apple fruit, and being pronounced La Masol, La Masul, and then corrupted to lamb's wool.
5 dancers. What? Not 4? Not 6?
As I said, my friend Sean McCormack from the Ealing Wildlife Group was leading the procession. He was the king of the Wassail, and also there is a queen as well. So there's 2 people nominated every year who lead the others to the merry dance around the trees. And so that happened on that day. And once we went around, all around the farm, then we all gathered around the largest tree of the orchard. And then there we had the blessing and the songs for the tree. Once this finished, then we had pieces of toast all over the tree, and hot cider was poured on it. And then there was music and people playing and banging pots and pans, as I said, to scare the evil spirits. And I'll be back after this short break. Today's episode is brought to you with the welcome support of Malbin Greek, UK's leading Greek delicatessen supplier and distributor of premium Greek produce. Whatever your needs, Malbin Greek has you covered. You can shop online and have the divine and delicious goods delivered to your doorstep across the UK, or you can visit the shop at Arch 17 Apollo Business Park, Lucy Way, SC16 4ET, Bermondsey, London. Malbin Greek, the one-stop shop for your Greek fix.
Hello there, sorry to interrupt. My name's Dr. Neil Buttery and I'm host of the British Food History Podcast, a podcast that you, as a fan of the delicious legacy, might be interested in. I explore British food and its history in all its glory, with interviews with special guests, recipes, reenactments, and tracking down forgotten recipes and hyper-regional specialities. Previous topics include medieval eels, 18th century dining, curry, London street food sellers, breakfast, and the good old Yorkshire pudding. Search for the British Food History Podcast wherever you get your podcasts. And now, back to the delicious legacy. Cheers!
King and Queen of the Wassail! Advance!
That'd be you.
Queen of Queen!
Oh, yeah.
And the children who are helping us today!
All hail the children.
That doesn't make sense.
All hail the children! Any more? All hail the Morris team! So, guests, merrymakers, let's process on our merry way round the farm to the Wassail tree. On we go!
Are we all gathered round as close to the Wassail tree? What a great hearty crowd we've got today. Welcome to the Wassail. Welcome to the Horsenden Wassail 2023. Stand fast root, bear well tops. Pray God send us a good howling crop. Every twig, apples big. Every bough, apples enow. Hats full, caps full, all quarter sacks full. Holla, boys, holla!
The poet Robert Herrick writes in his poem The Wassail: Wassail the trees, that they may bear you many a plum and many a pear, for more or less fruits they will bring, as you do give them wassailing. An incantation which is usually recited during the ceremony of the blessing of the apple tree goes like this: Here's to thee, old apple tree, that blooms well, bears well, hats full, cups full, 3 bushels bags full, and all under one tree. Hurrah! Hurrah! Now, there must be other similar traditional midwinter celebrations across Europe. Would be very interested to hear more about them and find out. Yeah, so if you know of anything similar happening in Northern Europe, like Germany or Czech Republic, or in France or in Spain, yeah, do let me know, and I'll find some more information and share with you guys. So at the end of our night, after the wassailing, we had a great midwinter feast, which it was again courtesy of Sean. He brought some delicious deer hunted from Oxford, from Oxon Deer Limited, which is basically a deer management happening in Oxfordshire and Buckinghamshire. And basically, as the numbers of deer can be uncontrollable, they don't have any natural predators around in the British Isles, and they manage to eat a lot of the young shoots of the forest and the young trees, so they don't help regenerate the forests, so they need to be culled in order to keep their numbers down. And from all the different deer species, there are a few like the Chinese water deer or the muntjac deer or sika deer, which are not native actually, and yeah, they do quite a lot of damage. So we had a chance to roast some venison, some from Chinese water deer and from muntjac deer, and it was part of our delicious midwinter feast on that night, all over wood fire, of course. On the verge of extinction, now Wassail is back, almost from the dead. What is going on? Are we going back to something in the past, hankering to return to some mythical age? Or the disconnect with the land and how we grow food and the old folk traditions played some role and breeds a strange, not nostalgia per se, but thirst perhaps for knowledge and understanding of our past? Something to connect us in the current disconnected age? Whatever it is that made it possible, it seems Wassail has returned for good in the parts of England that originated from, but also in many places that aren't in Somerset, like Sussex, and well, even here in London. At the end of the day, despite all the technological advances, the super modern, hyper efficient, clean food production lines, and spot on artificial flavorings, sweet or otherwise, nothing beats the fresh produce, picked by you and your fellow humans you spend time with, nurturing the fruit or vegetable. A fresh, crisp apple from the tree to the mouth is a different taste sensation altogether. Similarly, this can also be said for making cider and cracking open the first barrel, sharing it with friends, family, co-workers on the farm. Now, I recognize that this is also a privilege, a rarity amongst the majority of urban populations in our current hyper-technological civilization, especially given the disparity between urban poor when compared to those comfortable financially. The chance to bond with nature just isn't there, unfortunately. And this is something we can change, though, by bringing more people to urban farms such as Horsenden and getting acquainted with customs and traditions such as Wassail. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed our little Wassail explainer, and let me know if you have any similar experiences from around the world. And hopefully see you at next year's Wassail for some hot cider. Thanks for listening. I've been Tom Dinas, and this was the Delicious Legacy Podcast.
Our wassail is ended. 'Tis time for us to wend our way.
Our wassail is ended. 'Tis time for us to wend our way.
Our queen, she was well chosen. The queen. Our king, he was well chosen.
The best that's ever been.
We've wassailed our old apple tree to bring a good crop this new year.
We've wassailed our old apple tree to bring a good crop this year.
We wish for bud and blossom.
the fairest ever seen,
We wish for apples in great store.
the best that's ever been.
The ending of the old year brings travellers far and near to us.
The ending of the old year brings travellers far and near to us.
To you we wish a happy year.
The fairest ever seen,
To you we wish much joy and health.
the best that's ever been.
And now we must be on our way to seek out more good cheer and joy.
And now we must be on our way to seek out more good cheer and joy.
We wish for friends and friendships,
The fairest ever seen,
and we shall have good times again.
the best that's ever been. Hip hip
And now we wend our way back to the courtyard where our wonderful minstrels will perform a merry dance. So any which way you can get back to the courtyard.
If you enjoyed this episode, then subscribe wherever you get your podcast from. Like and review our podcast and share it with your friends. Share it with 3 friends via email, WhatsApp, Twitter, Facebook, and so on. And spread the word. We have nearly 60 episodes out now, and I'm trying to keep it going and growing and finding more and more interesting subjects of ancient gastronomic culture to bring to wider audiences. I'm also writing about ancient recipes and ingredients that are very much unknown to our days. So please go and subscribe to my Patreon, where you'll find a lot more archaeogastronomical content. Thank you. Over and out.